welcome everybody to the Trackstars TS2 Suzuka 120. So we are live for the final round of the TS2 Championship. We've just completed the TS3 Championship, Rick Queen being our winner, and now we're on to our TS2 with we got a title fight going on for these two drivers here. So joined by me in the comebacks as always is and Spud, but we also have a guest commentator as well. So welcome Spud and welcome to the guest commentator. Ooh.
Yeah, good evening, DJ. Yes, good evening, Mr. Woods, the last year's 2021 Touring Cars champion and this year's Formula Trackstars champion, joining us as a guest commentator here for the finale of Trackstars TS2 Touring Cars at the beautiful Suzuka circuit. A very technical track, very tricky track to make overtakes. So it's all about qualifying and where you position your car at the end of the 5-minute session. So welcome, Woodsy, to the combox.
Afternoon, gentlemen. Yeah, very nice to be here. It's certainly going to be an interesting, potentially very hectic race this afternoon. So, yeah, fingers crossed we both the championship contenders can have a good race and we have a nice competition on our hands for both races this afternoon.
It's going to be an awesome competition between two of the key heavyweights in TS2 Touring Cars. We had plenty of drivers come through as title contenders in John 27 TCT. We also had Captain Muffin in the title hunt as well, as we saw with Lunacy as well. So those top three were all going for hammer and tong for the TS2 Touring Cars Championship, but they all found their own ways and they did not finish their season off. But two drivers that have been able to finish their seasons off and be quite consistent in their Touring Cars season is Budsy76 trailing Slapper's mate 117 by mere 58 points. So it's all in Budsy's hands to try and topple off Slapper's mate 117 in car 117 for WTCC. So it's WTCC versus Mash Spuds racing for the title fight in TS2, and I can tell you, gentlemen, it's going to be a saucy fight when it comes to the checkered flag at the end of race 2.
If it's anything like TS3 was, I can't imagine what this is going to be like. But in saying that, we also have the exact same thing as TS3. We have a fight on for third. So, third place is very close between what would have been Captain Muffin, Rusty Nuts, Aussie Hypnotic and Rugworth. But unfortunately, Captain Muffin isn't joining us this weekend. So he will drop down the standings, but at the moment we've got Rusty Nuts, Aussie Hypnotic and Rugworth fighting out for fourth place, but we've got Devlin a little bit far back on the points, but as we always say, anything's possible, anything can happen. So there's I believe it's 8 points separating those three drivers.
So I think 8 points separating Rusty and Slapper's mate 117. There is a bit of a margin back to Rugworth, but like we've seen with Rugworth's racing, especially back at Fuji and over in Daytona, he's been showing some good performances in some of his racing, but unfortunately one race can be good, but then the other race can go backwards for him. So whether he's consistent enough to be up towards the front of this at the end of this race, we'll find out. So those first lap times come through with Gordon 69 coming through. Immediately toppled off by Griffo Tony with a 1 minute 50.720. Then straight away Kaiser's coming through with a 1 minute 49.8. Budsy 76 putting the charge in position 2 already, and Sirik has just come through the line into P5, and we're going to wait for a key name, DJ Slapper's mate 117. We need to see what his lap time is as he's coming through Casio Triangle to complete his first lap. So he needs to be in those 49s and 48s to try and be anywhere near Budsy 76. So far he's into the 48s, 49s. Oh, there you go. So the man there on the championship lead, provisional pole position goes to Slapper's mate 117. It's very close between the top three, but Slappers has got a bit of a margin over Kaiser and Budsy so far.
Yeah, he's down here in third, but qualifying is not everything essentially when it comes down to a race. These guys have 2 11 lap races, but he's 1.3 off. In saying that, he's 3/10 purple, so we'll wait and see what that happens. We'll try and get Slappers split here. He's down by 1.5 seconds, so Budsy's going to be the man to watch when they've just gone checkered. So Slappers is down and out with a 149.2. So the question is, will Budsy get Slappers here on the run to the line when checkered flag as they come past? But in the middle of that, we've got Kaizen as well. So Kaizen will actually be making his main series debut in the number 45 for the Mash Spuds. So I think he's getting his head in here, but you know, he's in the middle of what would be the bit of a stalemate here between Slappers and Budsy. But I don't know, man. I would be playing Gunner for him, but.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, because Kaiser's been showing some amazing pace in the TS2 qualifying, especially in his practice sessions. So maybe Kaiser could be a surprise for pole position as he comes through Casio for the final time. Will he take pole position away from Slapper's mate? 117 comes across the line. He does. Provisional pole position. But Budsy takes out pole position. But we got to win. It's not over yet. And Sirik's come through on a last lap for WRT. So Sirik takes out pole position. Provisional pole position for the TS2 Touring Cars Championship, only separated by a 10th between Budsy 76 and Sirik, who is our pole man so far. Slapper's mate still holds on the 4th. Honourable mention for Robbo Sports in position 5, so a nice qualifying from Robbo, but I believe we're not seeing any more improvements on the lap. We need to probably also keep an eye out on Aussie Hypnotic, who's down in 12th place, so he's not able to get anywhere near close enough towards Rusty Nuts, who is inside the top 6. So Rusty is in a better position than Aussie Hypnotic, so it's all about for Rusty to stay ahead at the end of the checker flag. But Slapper's in 4th, Budsy in 2nd, Sirik is the man on pole position. He's leaving where he left his mark in TS2 last time out of Fuji.
Mr. Fuji! Yeah, that's really close there. You know, Kaizen beat Slappers to the line by 0.002. So I'd like to know what that 4th number would be, because that's just ever so close. But yeah, you know, you lose a position by what would be, you know, less than a blink of an eye or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty close, especially when we've got 3/10 separating the first 4 cars. So you know, Sirik coming through with the late qualifier. He wasn't actually going to race this weekend, but unfortunately his partner and daughter have COVID and they're stuck in Queensland and they had to cancel their flight, so he didn't have to go pick them up, unfortunately. So hope all is well to Sirik's partner and his daughter, so fingers crossed. But yeah, good to see him on the track here.
So we go to our guest commentator in Woodsy. So what did you think of that qualifying, Woodsy? Yes, what has Budsy got in the tank to try and topple off Slapper's mate 117 at the conclusion of this race?
Oh, I think the top 2 are going to skip away. It's going to be neck and neck, certainly for the top 2. Aussie Hypnotic, I think his race pace will probably be stronger than his qualifying pace, so I'd expect him to move up during the race at some point, probably start knocking on the door of the top 5 after a couple laps.
Yep.
But yeah, I expect the top 2 to skip away. They're driving a Nissan and Lexus, so the front tyres will probably start screaming after a couple laps, depending on how hard they're pushing. So yeah, anyone's game, mate.
100% as we get a race 1 underway for the first part of the Suzuka 120. This race 1 for the Trackstars TS2 Touring Cars with Sirik on pole position. Budsy, the main man that can topple off, the only man that can topple off Slappers mate 117 for the championship and bring the title to Mash Spuds Racing. But Slappers is holding on with a 58-point margin, and Kaizen in the middle of the 2 as we wait for those revs to rise and the lights are about to go out. 5 red lights and we are racing. So a nice solid start there by the front 2, and Slappers has got a brilliant start. So coming through to 4th place, he's going to make a move, an inside move on Budsy 76. He's pushed onto the grass, and Budsy just holds on to position 2 as Slappers take avoiding action and not go tumbling down the order. So Budsy really trying to put the pressure on Slappers mate 117 at the beginning of this race, DJ. He's trying to make the moves, he's trying to get his elbows out because he knows he wants to get that position over Slappers mate 117 at the conclusion of the championship, at the conclusion of the race. So Slappers holding on to 4th. Rusty Nuts has moved up into position 5. Robert's dropped down a spot, and Griffo in 7th, and Shadow GT in the 8. Gordok has come through with Gordok and Warpath inside the top 10, and Aussie down in 11th place, still holding on as the 2 teammates have come together, and Shadow's gone sent into the Shadow realm, into the gravel trap through Deckner 1, and Gordok and Warpath looked like they were a bit of a contact, and that may have been a cause of the incident.
Yeah, I think Warpath did get out of that, and that was just a bit of a missed break in there by Gordok. Yep, that was it. Definitely Gordok there. So he's readdressed that, which is very well done there by Gordok. Nice race etiquette, and hopefully escapes a penalty out of that one. So unfortunate for Shadow, but you know, 10.5 laps to go, and we've still got a decently long race left here, around 2.
Absolutely. As we go through the field, Jojo, we have a couple of surprise entrants here for the Trackstars TS2 touring cars. We have some of the TS3 touring car drivers, the drivers that positioned themselves inside the top 3. We had Renegade, who just came out of that awesome battle that he had with Rick Reed for the TS3 touring cars title fight, only coming down towards 26 points between those two drivers. Renegade is inside the top 10. He only needs 5 more positions to get himself in the top 5 to be classified eligible as a main series driver for the IS Racing Group. And then we have Oz Tormentor in 12th place, having a little bit of a struggling time compared to his TS3 Nissan jumping into the TS2 Honda. So Tormentor's going to be learning this car and what he's expected to drive next year in TS2. But Renegade looks like he's making the moves already, not just yet over Aussie Hypnotic. Aussie's in 9th place, just sitting behind Warpath 360, RoboSport in 7th, and I believe Rusty will be in 6th place. Oh no, 5th place for Rusty. So Rusty's got a few points over Aussie Hypnotic so far in this race, but the man that we need to keep our eyes on is Budsy76 and Slappers Mate 117. They haven't really been able to gap themselves a little bit too much. Kaizen's going to be trying to play the defensive role and try and help his teammate Budsy76 out. So if it stays like this, with Budsy in 2nd and Slappers in 4th, we need to know what's going to happen at the end of the race, what the points are going to come down to.
I think it would be roughly about 30 and 35 points, I think, if my calculations are correct, even though my calculations are usually always wrong. Yeah, Sirik hasn't really broken out here, but I do enjoy the comment very thoroughly there from Jarman Dalit Eats Racing. Might have to change Sirik's name to the Emperor of Japan. That's awesome. He got the round win at Fuji, and he's currently on track to get the first race here at Suzuka, which I don't know my way around Japan or Tokyo or anything like that, but I do know that they're in the same country, so we'll just leave it at that. But yeah, he's doing a solid job out in front in that Nissan. So hopefully we can see Sirik a little bit more next year. Oh, he's got half a second penalty here, so that's very critical. Granted that the penalty burn spot is halfway down the back straight, so that may open up Budsy here to potentially take first place. So I think if I was Sirik, you might want to get a bit of a move on there and try and take as much gap to Budsy as you can. So you'll definitely come under pressure from him there, coming into 130R and all the way down into Casio Triangle.
Absolutely. So Budsy's still holding on to 2nd place. Sorry, Woodsy, go ahead.
So it's important to note that in the current point situation, if Budsy stays P2, he'll gain an extra 15 points, so that gap will go down to 43. Potentially, if this is Sirik leading at the moment, if Sirik loses the lead, it goes down to 28 points. So
yeah, wow.
Yeah, certainly tightens that margin in the championship, and yeah, puts the pressure certainly back on Slappers, mate. Get past Kaizen.
Yeah, and it's all been going towards Budsy's way over the last few rounds. Budsy's been definitely showing some performance that after that I, as myself as a team member, haven't really seen from Budsy76. I think the last time I saw some amazing pace from Budsy was back in the first round in the Formula Championship, and I think Woodsy can agree that Budsy caused us a bit of surprise in that qualifying, and especially in that race as well.
Certainly, Budsy's always been someone that I regard as a really, really decent driver. He's been there or thereabouts. It's just a couple of times he's not been able to commit. But certainly he's tasting that championship, and so he's got the bit between his teeth and he's having a go. As you can see, he's right up behind Sirik now. Gets a good, decent run. Just the outside slip. Not quite going to get him down the turn line, but certainly Sirik's going to be feeling that pressure.
Absolutely, and as we look down the field, we have Aussie Hypnotic actually moved himself inside the top 8, and we have Rusty in position 5. So the way things go, looks like Rusty will be taking that P3 away from Aussie Hypnotic at the end of this race, but it will be very close between those two drivers, with Rusty Nuts in 5th place and with Aussie Hypnotic in 8th place. So it'll be a 7-point swing going towards Rusty Nuts, and it'll only be actually no, I will say that Rusty will be ahead by an extra 7 points over Aussie Hypnotic.
Yeah, so that'd take the points margin out to 44 points, mate. So a little bit extra breathing room for Rusty, but still a decent way to go in this race, mate. Anything can happen.
Absolutely, and we have a special honourable mention for Robo Sport Racing, who is actually donning a black livery in support of the Queensland Police. And obviously, I know this is right at home for you, Woodsy, about with the shootings up in the north of Queensland and the northwest of Queensland. And we just heard that terrible news where 4 officers have been shot down by gunmen on the west, and unfortunately, one of those police officers actually Robbo knew as a friend or someone that he knew that was in the police force. So he's donning that commemorative emblem on the Robbo Sport Nissan GTR car 20, and he's also got that on the front end of Rusty Nutt's car 269. So our condolences go towards all those families that have lost their loved ones in that horrific incident, and we wish them all the best, and we send our condolences from Trackstars Racing Series.
Hey man, certainly back a few years ago I actually worked out towards Tara, so it certainly does hit home a bit. The last week or so I've been probably an hour and a half away from that area, so yeah, absolutely hectic and devastating is what's happening out there, and fantastic for Robo Sport to go and share that fantastic looking livery in commemoration to the officers that have tragically fallen in the line of duty. So absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. So as we go down through the field, we did see some drives from Renegade 575 up into position 9 already. So he's doing himself some good favours, making his debut in TS2, just coming off the back end of his mammoth fight with Rick Green from Triple R Motorsport for the TS3 Touring Cars Championship. Fell short in that finishing P2, but it's all up to him to try and get himself up into that critical top 5 position for Renegade 575 to make himself eligible for a main series run. But Renegade holding on very nicely in that Lexus RCF, just behind Aussie Hypnotic and well ahead of Rugworth in 10th place.
Yeah, Renegade's doing a solid job there, and we do have some from the race comms that Warparts had some console issues, and it did look like it restarted on itself, so I'm not too sure if he'll be back. If you are on the stream, mate, let us know. We'll try and get you back in, but if not, that then opens up the invitational for flyboarding to jump back in, so we'll wait and see on that, and that might be some late news. But yeah, this is pretty close here on this field. They kind of not really gapping each other as such, as Sirik goes through and just decides to just casually do a 48.5 in his Nissan. But we did see him in a Lexus last week at Fuji, so me being in a Honda car, I would have liked to see him be in a Honda, but it's good to see him back on the grid for WLT, and we'll see if they can get 2 rounds in a row. So that'll be very interesting there for Warpath, and pretty solid signing, and what essentially would be a good pathway at the moment for Sirik. Granted, he started last year in TS3 and now he's winning races back to back in TS2 and main series.
Yeah, absolutely. He managed to get his first main series victory last time out at obviously one of his favourite track in Fuji. And yeah, it's just for him to get himself a victory there. It's been really awesome for Sirik, and he's been honing himself as probably as its racing's put out like one of the masters of Japan. Obviously, we need our top list. We need our top list to confirm that for sure. But we know a couple of boys here don't really like the top list.
let's just leave that conversation alone, I think, to be honest, because I'm pretty sure Woodsy's got PTSD from when I raced it on top list with him. So. I don't know about you, mate, but I like the top list. I drop over that. Yeah, it's fantastic. Real life track. Just because you can't drive turn 1, mate, it doesn't matter, mate. No. Look, if anyone's going to be a bowling ball at turn 1, it's going to be me, and I did it on top list. I went straight down the inside and took out like 5 cars. It was great, but yeah,
you did a fantastic job. Took out all the 10 cars. Yep.
Yeah.
Something I'd like to point out very quickly. Certainly, Sirik. His ability to adapt to different series of cars, so progressing from TS3 into TS2 and then last round into the main series. He's done a fantastic job, and as you can see, he's leading the race here at the moment. He's starting to slowly gap Budsy, very marginally, but he's getting that gap out very slowly. And also Renegade being able to adapt from TS3 spec cars into TS2 spec. He's inside the top 10, doing a decent job, mate. And he's good. Put on a show.
And all came to avail when Sirik actually jumped in at the last minute to be an enduro driver for WRT themselves, and at the high speed ring it was a bit of a late call for Sirik to make his return to Trackstars Racing Series, because he'd been on hiatus looking after his young one and raising his young family. But he stepped in, and WRT needed a driver, and he came in at the right call at the right time. And obviously on short notice, they managed to field out 2 cars with their primary drivers, as well as having their co-drivers ready with Sirik and Adam Weller joining the field. But Renegade just runs a little bit wide through Decker 2. But yeah, he's been around and about in the Trackstars field, and he did take a break, a bit of a little break away. But it's good to see him back where he is against the main guys in TS2, and obviously leading the way on lap 7 of 11. So our favourite petrol station and our favourite convenience store, 7-Eleven. And in position 1, with Budsy holding on to position 2, Kai's in 3rd, is holding on very nicely, just fending off from Slapper's mate 117, trying to fend off any charge that he can make on Slapper's getting more points on Budsy 76.
I'm also curious on how these tyres are going to hold up come lap 11 too. Granted, they are using the softs, and some cars wear more than others. I'd like to see the difference in the Honda. There's a Honda driver. Tormentor here. Oh, they're wearing about the same. So yeah, I think, you know, the tyre wear as well. I don't know if it got changed in the latest update, but I think, you know, the cars didn't really get touched. It was just essentially the addition of the 5 cars. So I think, you know, happy to claps for Kaz on that one, not making our life hard coming into this weekend. So I think that's probably a good thing. But we got Jarman Dalitz thinking he's being funny, saying the 45-second penalty was great too that he gave me from Autopolis. But you know, it was worth it. But the penalty that we gave you in the Porsche Cup was also funny, and also in, I think it was main series at Tokyo, that was also great. So mate, you can give us penalties, but we'll give him straight back to you.
It's a shame he didn't give you a 45-second penalty in Brazil, mate, but that's okay. Still managed to take the championship regardless, so yeah, no, it's all good.
Yeah. And then I got a 45-second penalty at Nürburgring for not even touching the car. So, you know, we just keep moving on.
But get back into. Have that for another stream.
Yeah. Hey, at least he didn't get DQ'd. That's all good.
Yeah, exactly. But what we've actually seen here, whilst we were having a bit of a banter away, that Slappers has actually dropped a little bit further back from Kaizen, so he's having a bit of he's dropping back a little bit. And I wonder, DJ, like, he's been talking it up all day, that I wonder if this could be something to do with the PS5 having that little bit of glitching, because he knows that he has that issue surrounding him, and the back of his mind that his car does glitch a little bit compared to the cars ahead of him, especially with the drivers that have PlayStation 5 consoles or newer PlayStation 4 consoles. So Slappers is struggling a little bit with glitching issues, but still holding on to P4. He's got a good margin between himself and Rusty now, so he won't lose too much time and lose too many spots if he keeps that position.
Yeah, I do know that a couple of people have been experiencing that. Obviously, you know, your team coming for you as well. Sorry, Ratty McForehead or Patrick, which he doesn't like to be called. But yeah, you know, he's hanging it out there. But I think essentially just because the championship's in limbo there. But he does have a PS5 under his Christmas tree, so you know it's right at reach, but it's just not plugged in and using. But yeah, I think as well the good thing is they fixed the engine issues as well. You know, the engine sound being lost as well. They fixed that in the latest update too. So that was also an issue that we had with I believe it was yourself at Daytona, and John, your cars turned into GT 500s to GT Electrics.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't a fun time, that's for sure. No, it wasn't fun at all. But yeah, I think they fixed that now. It was a weird thing, like we had a couple of drivers that had that issue in TS2 that race as well, where people would jump into the pit lane, change tyres, and as soon as they come out, they just get that noise. They just wouldn't get any car sound at all. So it was a little bit of a hard going for the TS3, for the TS2, and for the main series drivers. But everything's been glossed over there. Some sort of improvements with the lobbies, but not quite there yet. Just not quite there yet. GT3. So, with unfortunately with a couple of drivers in the WRT boys, obviously we've just heard from the communication box that that we heard Warpath not having some technical issues with his console, DNFing this race, and then we have Torment who's made the jump to the TS2 for this race in a 14th place or 13th place, and then we have Gordok in 14th and last place. But the one man that they have their hopes on is Sirik from WRT car 51 in the Nissan GTR, and Buzzy just trying to hold on in second place. He's not giving up. He wants to put the fight on Sirik, but Sirik has just got the edge on the 76, and Kaisen's really trying to follow him behind and really try to push him. But I think those guys have got quite a good gap over Slapper's mate 117, who looks to, again, having a few little issues on his end of the field, but he's got himself a good 4.5 second gap over Rusty Nuts in 5th place.
Yeah.
Something I'd like to highlight just quickly about Slappers is Slappers is coming to the race leading the championship. He's got currently a 58-point lead. With the current position that Budgie's in, it's down to 43 points. Slappers doesn't need to really push the overtake with Kaizen, who's Budgie's teammate. So potentially, Slappers is just evaluated. Don't really need the sort of encourage that sort of risk. So potentially, he's just save the tyres, save the car, go into the last race, and just take it easy, keep it nice and calm, go into the last race. Certainly, that puts a bit more pressure on him with a smaller points gap, but it's a mental game here. He's taking it easy, get a good start next race, put himself in a good position to potentially take the championship leading to the next race.
Yeah, absolutely, and even where we saw in TS3 as well with Rick Reen only losing out 10 points to Renegade in that first race, and then he only lost out a few points to Renegade in the last race. So he had a couple of good battles in him with Renegade, but it was a little bit not enough for Renegade to be moving himself towards the front. And as we say that, Renegade has actually moved up into 8th place, so someone has actually made a mistake there. I wonder if that is, it's Robbo Sport down in 12th place.
Someone dropped out.
So no, it's actually Robbo Sport. He actually dropped down the field. He was high up in 7th place on the previous lap, but dropped down to 12th. Unfortunately for Robbo, he's had that kind of season. Unfortunately, luck's not going his way. He's down in 12th place, and he's gained another. Oh, that means Renegade's just gained another position inside the top 8. So not bad for your TS2 debut. It's a little bit out of stretch for getting the top 5 in your first race. But he's got one more race to go to try and get himself into that crucial 5th place. But Griffo, honourable mention for car number 62. They're putting on a much better performance. This is actually one of the better performances we've seen with Griffo Tony in 6th place. He's always been hanging around outside the top 10 and even down in last place to second last place. But Griffo's found some form now here in Suzuka, and he's found himself up towards the pointy end. But coming towards the final section of the track, Sirik is going to come through untouched, 4-second gap over the Budsy 76, Kaizen in 3rd, Slappers in 4th, and the man that is known to be the king around Japan for WRT car 51 is going to go through Casio Triangle for the final time in race 1. Runs the car a little bit deep there, so just trying so his tyres are wearing a little bit, so you can't say that his tyres aren't wearing, because they are wearing. But Sirik comes through to take victory in race 1. Budsy 76 closes the gap to Slapper's mate 117, and Kaizen takes out the podium. Slapper's holding on to 4th. Losing a bit of margin to Budsy 76, but it's all on Budsy 76 to really push it and give Slappers a run for the last race in Trackstars TS2. Rusty holds on into 5th place. Aussie Hypnotic goes up into 7th with Griffo in the middle, and then Renegade on his debut in TS2 inside the top 8. So beautiful drive there by Renegade 575. Rugworth in 9th, and then Shadow GT, after being sent into the gravel trap on the opening lap, has recovered inside the top 10.
Yeah, and then we got Isa Devlin rounding out position 11, and then Robbo Sport down here in P12. You know, I was actually thinking to myself, I'm like, look, Robbo's running P7, he's actually having a good race. And then I was like, I see Renegade in P8. I was like, someone's dropped out, and then you go, it's Robbo, and I was like, well, that is very unfortunate for Robbo, because his string of bad luck is still continuing into this last race. So I think, you know, it would be nice to see Robbo and his luck probably go the good way for this race too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Potentially, you know, see him for a top 5, maybe even a top 3. But you know, as we know, the top 6, 7 drivers, they're quick. Oh, Gordo going for a fully hectic
Oh,
Mr.
no.
Drift there at Casio Triangle. So yeah, you know, the top 5, 6 drivers, they're all part of main series teams, but at the same time, they've also had main series experience as well, which is also helping them, I think. Um, realistically in their spell of racing, Sirik's done main series, Budsy, Kleisen, Slappers, Rusty. I don't think Griffo's done main series yet, but at the moment, I think they're definitely showing that they have the pace to do it and to mix up with us in main series. But as much as people say, oh, we're quick, we're aliens, mate, it all comes down to practice and time behind the wheel. So practice makes perfect, and that's probably the best thing that we would probably recommend to people is definitely understand the car, understand the track, understand how it handles the wind, the tires, all that kind of stuff, and it'll definitely kind of advance you a little bit further. And hats off to Budsy. I think he's probably the most improved I've seen over the last probably season or two in general. When we first joined, we seen him down the back, P10, P11, P12, but now he's fighting for a championship. So he's done that all by himself. Obviously he's probably had the help for you, Spud, and all the other boys at MSR, but it's not you in the car, it's him. So
Yeah.
it's definitely good to see the improvement, and even Kaizen on his first race out he became main series eligible. So
Yeah.
it's
And with that, and we'll also be seeing Kaizen later on this in the evenings making his main series debut. So he's done very well. But the one man that you can't topple off here in Japan, Sirik for WRT takes yet another victory in Trackstars TS2 in the Nissan GTR ahead of the Lexus drivers in Butsy 76 and Kaizen rounding up second and third place. Slappers holds on to fourth, just holding on, just his PlayStation, just holding on for that, and he's got himself inside the top 4. So it's all about the last race, DJ. Who can win it between Slappers Mate 117 and Budsy 76?
look, I think I'd like Budsy to win, but I've got to put my monopoly money here on Slappers. He's definitely been consistent all season, but at the same time, he's got it's racing sponsors on, so you got to kind of support the sponsors.
Oh, listen to him being brand affiliated, mate. Have a go. Always sitting on the fence.
But yeah, until then, we'll take a little bit of a break here. So everyone, go grab another drink, sit back down, grab some popcorn, and we shall catch you very shortly.
Live, hopefully.
We are back live for qualifying 2 of round 14 of the Suzuka 120 here at the fantastic Suzuka circuit. We had a bit of a break. I know I got a drink. Woodsy went to the bathroom. Spud ducked out for a bit of a breather to look at all the magical cars down in pit lane. But yeah, we've done some quick points calculations, and it's officially, you know, win it or bin it for Budsy. I think I think that's probably a good saying to go for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. As we've come down to the calculations, it's only separated by 43 points. So Budsy did take points away from Slapper's mate 117, but it's going to be a mammoth task for Budsy 76 to try and hoe down that points margin between himself and Slapper's mate 117. Slappers really needs to have a poor result in race 2, just like what he had at Fuji last time out, DJ. So anything can happen with the man in car 170, just like we saw it at Fuji. Anything can happen, and it's all up to Slapper's mate to keep that car on the track, keep it in a position, because he needs to finish in 9th or better to seal the championship if Budsy takes victory this in race 2.
Yeah, and Budsy has to win. It's a must-win situation for Budsy. If he gets P2, he is relying on a DNF from Slappers. So if Budsy doesn't get the win, he needs a DNF. But he must finish P1 or P2. Preferably P1, but you know, at the moment, I think if you were Slappers, I think I'd take probably the safe option. But you know, not too safe, but also not too careful. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one, I think, for this 11-lap race.
100%, and we can't wait to see what our key drivers can do. Also, we have our confirmation with Rusty Nuts in holding on to 3rd place, getting a points margin over Aussie Hypnotic in 4th place. So it's all up to Rusty just to drive the car in one piece and just try and keep it ahead of Aussie Hypnotic. So Aussie Hypnotic did have a better recovery drive in that first race, but unfortunately just couldn't get anywhere close enough to Rusty Nuts at the end of that stint, that first 11-lap stint. But Sirix coming through to Deckner 2, just runs a little bit wide going through Deckner 2, so it's all about just trying to keep that car steady, and hopefully, and if he gets a double pole position yet again, he's going to be another thorn in the cork bottle. DJ is going to be the one that's going to really put a damper on this championship fight.
Yeah, definitely. And as much as he's running for WRT, he's actually great mates with WTCC. So essentially, in a way, he's certainly that cork in the bottle there. You know, Slapper's mate's going to be like, look, I'm just so hoping that Sirik's going to get P1. So, but yeah, you know, that may come into play in the back of Sirik's head. But you know, I think it's definitely going to be an interesting one here. But Sirik's got a bit of a slipstream from Gordok here, so you know that may play into his hands a little bit, but Kaizen's right behind him too, so as much of a muchness, it'll be a slipstream with a slipstream. So we'll wait and see how this goes, as Kaizen runs a little bit wide onto the AstroTurf there. Coming through this one, Sirik comes through with a 49.4, Kaizen with a 49.6, so yeah, that qualifying there with that, Slappers maybe with a 49.3. Oh, Budsy was 48! Oh.
He's on provisional pole position, so the tyres keep going through. And he's put a good margin over Slapper's mate 117, DJ.
Yeah, that's 4/10 there over Slappers. So
4/10 on Slappers.
He must have had a really good slip there from someone, or he had a really good couple of sectors, because that's a blistering time here for TS2. That's the first 48 we've seen in qualifying so far.
Absolutely, and then Budsy is the first driver in the 48s, and he's going purple in the end of the first sector. So qualifying is not over yet, as the clock is about to tick over 5 minutes. Every driver is on their final lap. It's Budsy on provisional pole position. His championship rival and Slappers. Budsy gets a little bit hairy through Deckner 1 and 2, but he just keeps the car under control. It might have lost him a little bit of time. No, he's actually gained time from Sector 1 and going into Sector 2, so he must be getting a little bit of help from Rusty Nuts in 5th place with that bit of slipstream. But obviously, Sirik's seen that 48 come through. Can Sirik be the next driver to get into the 48s? Can Slappers get in the 48s? Can Kaizen get himself into the 48s? The top 4 that have been showing all the paces in the last few rounds are now currently in the top 4, with Rusty Nuts holding on to 5th place, and Aussie Hypnotic is actually in 6th place as well, so keep an eye on him later on in the qualifying stages. But Slappers to 130.
He's
He's
10th
up.
and a half.
10th.
He's a 10th and a half up.
Half
10th and a
on
quarter.
Bucky's 76.
But he's
And
3
Sirik-
tenths up though.
But
So
Sirik's coming across the line right now. Can Sirik come through? Get him to some of the 48s. No, he doesn't. Can Kaizen come through? No. Kaizen hasn't improved. So it's all up to Slappers, mate. 117 to steal. Pole position away. He has done. He's taken pole position away, but Buzzy 76 is coming through to the last corner for the last time. Pole position. He takes pole position away from Slappers, mate. 117. Advantage goes to the car 76 from Mash Plus Racing over WTCC. Wow.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Wow.
we are in for a finale, ladies and gentlemen. Buzzy 76 and Slappers, mate. 117.
Jeez.
Oh, unbelievable.
Oh, that's got me on the edge of my seat. Jeez. Wow, and that's
thinking of Santa Frost at turn 1, boys.
less than a tenth as well, 0.07. So, wow. Oh man, that's got me sweating. Jeez.
Absolutely crazy scenes. The first drivers in the 48s, the Slappers, mate, and Budsy 76, the top two in the championship.
Oof.
Budsy getting the edge over Slappers, mate, 117 in the last race, but it's all about that race start, ladies and gentlemen. We did see Budsy have a bit of a poor start in race 1, and Slappers got the perfect start, so it's all going to be up to Slappers to get that jump over Budsy 76 in that Lexus. But Slappers is on the inside, and carnage can be caused on the inside going to turns 1 and 2.
That's wow. It's gonna be all or nothing for Buzzy. It's gonna be send it or send it or bin it. It's essentially gonna be like that way, and hope to God that Sirik can pest the Slappers and maybe even come together with him and see what happens. But I doubt that's gonna happen. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting race too, I think, with these 11 laps to come. But that's incredible. That's incredible qualifying now. I've never been like that all year until probably this race. That's yeah, wow.
And I will say that is actually Budsy 76's first pole position in TS2, and what a time to get your first pole position in Trackstars TS2 over Slappers, mate, for the championship fight. 43 points separates the top two contenders in Budsy and Slappers, mate, 117. Budsy needs to get the car off the line. He needs to be leading through turns 1 and 2, and all he needs to pray for is a mistake and a disaster race from Slappers, mate, 117, as we're about to get ready for the race start for the last time here in Trackstars TS2, the finale of Trackstars Touring Cars Championship for all categories. Will we be crowning a brand new championship in TS2? Will it be Slappers, mate, 117, or will it be Budsy 76? 14 rounds has passed us here at Trackstars TS2, and it's all come down to this. Budsy 76 trailing Slappers, mate, 117 in the TS2 Touring Cars Championship as those 5 lights are about to go red. Budsy on pole, Slappers on second. It is lights out, and we are green flag racing. Budsy trying to go for the inside light, but Slappers is coming through onto the inside, trying to get the run, get the side draft coming from Budsy 76, but Budsy comes through into turn 1 with the lead, and Slappers drops down to second as we see the cars coming through, flocking down through the field. Looks relatively clean for our drivers. Renegade just ran a bit wide, and he's gone into the AstroTurf, and carnage at the back end of the track there. We saw Renegade, we saw Griffo, Devlin, and I believe the last one was Tormentor from WRT, all coming together in that opening couple of corners there. But the man that we need to keep our eyes on, the man that's got the jump and so far the advantage, Budsy 76 over Slappers, mate, 117, but he needs his teammate in Kaizen, and he needs Sirik to make the moves and Rusty to come through and take those positions away from Slappers, mate, because as they stand, DJ, the championship is not going to go in the favour of Budsy 76.
Yeah, that was a pretty hectic corner 1, 2, 3, 4 there. But yeah, unfortunately, Renegade didn't come off there. But that was solid work there from Budsy. He sent it into turn 1, and he didn't back down. He didn't let off. He thought, I'm gonna send it here, and it's gone. Oh, Slappers has run wide here. That's not what he wants. Oh,
he's run wide. Has he saved it?
Oh.
He has. He's on the
Oh no.
trap. He's going to drop down the orders to 7th and 8th as we see Shadow and Rugworth come through. There is a critical position, position 9. That's not going to be enough for Slappers, mate, 117. And Gordon 69 is going to try and make a move on Slappers, mate, 117. goes through to 130R, going side by side. Gordon 69 trying to make it challenging for Slappers, mate. 117. Slappers down into 9th place. That's going to be one of the key positions that Slappers, mate, does not want to be in. He needs to be inside that top 8.
Wow, that was...
said at the start of the race, Budley, that's the critical number that he needs to... That's the go-to number, mate. He needs to finish inside 9th or above, mate. So, yeah, it's all up to Slappers, mate. Pressure is on.
Pressure is on, and he's got his good mate in Rugworth, opposition team with the MSR VL Racing versus WTCC. So Rugworth knows he's a good mate with Slappers, mate 117, but he's not going to make it easy for the man in car 117. But he's gone wide, and Slappers has got around for the outside move through the S-curve, and he's made that move very nicely. So he's in the 8, so he's in that position where he can seal the championship as he finishes in that position. Budsy 76 holding on to the lead with Kaizen in 2nd place. Sirik up into 3rd place, but wow, that could have been a whole lot worse for Slappers if he actually gone full rotation around this smooth curve.
Yeah, he's very, very, very lucky he kept that straight. Honestly, I think if he spun it, that was all Gornskis for him there. That was going to be, yeah, that had me on, you know, that gave me goosebumps seeing him run wide there. But, oh, Budsy's actually lost the lead here. So Budsy has to get that back from Kaizen. But he's got Sirik breathing down his throat. So if you were Kaizen, you know, I'm not sure if I would give team orders here, but I think, you know, if I was Kaizen, I'd be like, mate, you can go back through. It's your championship to win. So, you know, it's, oh, mate, this is a hectic race too.
It is, and the pressure's on, and Sirik wants to make some moves. He doesn't care about the championship fight between the MSR and WTCC drivers. He's caring about taking victory and trying to get himself as high up the grid as possible, but Budsy 76 isn't in the prime position. He's in P2. He's lost that lead to Kaizen, and Sirik is putting the pressure on Budsy 76. Think about the inside, thinks about the outside, going to turn 1. Budsy 76 clips the grass, but defends very nicely and holds on to P2. Sirik
Slappers up into P7.
Slappers is up into P7, makes the move on Shadow GT around the outside of turn 1. Very nicely done by Slappers. So he's trying to get back as many positions as possible. Slappers at 7th, Budsy in position 2, and all Budsy needs to do, he just needs to keep himself ahead of Sirik, and he needs to try and find a way back past his teammate, because it's all or nothing for Budsy 76. He needs another mistake from Slappers. He needs to see that name outside of the top 8.
Yeah, he really does there, but he also needs to see himself in P1. So, you know, as much as Slappers here... Oh, he has! He hit the wall! Yes, he has!
So Slappers in the wall. Thanks for the insight there, DJ Woodsy. Yeah, Slappers in the wall. He thankfully hasn't lost too many more positions to Tormentor and Gordok 69, but Tormentor's looking for an outside move. Slappers holding on to P9. Tormentor's in here for the invitation, but he doesn't care. He wants to go for the moves. He wants to make a name for himself in TS2. He's made an inside move on Slappers, mate 117. So your 3rd place runner in TS3 has made a move on the championship leader. Budsy needs to be up into 1st place. He needs to get himself back into P1, but he's got a fast charging Sirik right behind him in car 51 from WRT. So if I was Budsy, I'll be telling Kaizen to hurry up, get the move, and try and pull away, try and slow down for him, because he's 1 second over Kaizen, behind Kaizen, and it's all about just trying to stay ahead of Sirik as Slappers is inside the top 10.
Very, very crucial move from Slappers there. Certainly, I think at this point with Budsy in P2, Slappers just needs to just cool it down a bit. Just realise he's got 7 laps ahead of him, and just cool it down. Realise pressure's all on Budsy now to get back to P1, and just punch away at lap times, and just gradually work his way up the field. As we see Robbo having a bit of a struggle here. Yeah, Slappers trying to go around the outside of Robbo. Not quite making the pass. Looking for an inside-outside move. Nicely done. Round Dunlop. Easy as.
Yes, the Slappers back up into P8. I did catch Robbo having a little bit of a mistake going through the first part of the S-curve. He ran it a little bit too deep, and I just kind of compromised him for Slappers mate 117 to make that move around the outside going into Dunlop. So Slappers in 8th place, but Budsy's still in 2nd place. Oh, I don't know whether your teammates are trying to help you out to try and swap positions, but I don't think it's going to be enough, because if you're trying to surrender a 1.5 second lead between yourself and your teammate, do you really need to do that? Is that too much of a team effort?
How do you feel, Spudley? Do you being the team owner of MSR, mate? How do you feel?
I'm in all sorts of being under pressure here between Budsy and Kaizen. I know Kaizen really wants to make a name for himself. He really wants to try and take out a victory in his short career in Trackstars TS2. As they go side by side, Budsy going fender to fender with Sirik's car 51, and Sirik's got a much better exit coming out of Casio, so Budsy needs to do all he can is try to go for that defensive move, try and block the inside.
He's done.
Sirik is really trying to go for an inside move. Budsy really wants to try and hold on to position 2, but Sirik's coming through into P2, and he's taken that P2 away from Budsy 76, so Budsy drops down to P3.
Run wide.
But Sirik's run wide, and Budsy's come back through into position 2. He's made that move, and he's back into P2. The back for first place is gone. Kaizen is far away from the lead. He's taken a good margin away from Budsy and Sirik, and Slapper's mate is in 8th place, again behind his teammate, or one of his fellow friends in WTCC in Rugworth. Honourable mentions also go towards Shadow GT, showing his best performance in one of the many cars from MSR in 6th place. So all he needs is one more position to be inside the top 5. He had a bit of a bad start in race 1, being punted off into Decna 1 and 2, but is now put on a much better performance to be in 6th place.
Yeah. Also worth noting that Rusty is ahead of Aussie Hypnotic, so he maintains that lead over Aussie for the battle in P3 in the championship. So very nicely done for those two, but certainly P4 and P5 on track. If Aussie gets the opportunity, you might think he'd throw it down the inside and try and take some points away.
Yeah, and they've actually closed up towards the battle pack between Sirik and Budsy 76, with those two duking it out for position 2, and Kaizen just running away with the victory. So it's all about what Kaizen has to do. He's never been in a situation like this where he has to think about letting a teammate through, but because there's a huge gap between those two drivers, there's not much he can really do unless he plays the ultimate team game. I've definitely told my drivers to race to the end, and they can race each other, but it's all about what Kaizen does. Is he gonna surrender the victory? Is he gonna sacrifice victory for Budsy 76, all hoping that Slappers mate finishes outside the top 10? But we see on the live timing, Slappers has actually moved up into 7th place, and we have Rugworth who's actually dropped down to P8, and Oz Tormentor a nice little run there in position 9. So Tormentor, just like Renegade in that first one, Tormentor's having a nice performance inside 9th place and putting the challenge on Rugworth in 8th place.
Yeah, Renegade's actually jumped up here into to P12, but as we Robbo's bad luck string continues, unfortunately. He's dropped down here into 14, so it's very unfortunate to see Robbo there in round 14 here at TS2, but he's just gone purple. So I wonder if we might see a bit of a 48 here, thinking I'm down the back, but let's try and put in a bit of a faster slap here. So, but getting back to the whole team situation thing, I think 3.8 seconds might be a bit of a stretch, but I wouldn't be making that call until we're coming, essentially lap 11. So I wouldn't be making that call now, because obviously there's still 5 laps to go. So anything can happen, but 2.8 to Ruggers and then a 10th.5 to Tormentor. It's essentially a bit of a stretch at the moment, granted how quick Slappers has been lately. So it's definitely going to be a bit to see, but my money is still on Slappers here. But that was a massive moment there on lap 1, and also when he hit the wall. So that's definitely not what he probably wanted. He's just definitely put some more pressure on himself, but also put some pressure on Budsy.
Yeah, but he's got a gap now, has Slappers over Shadow and Rugworth, so he's not coming under threat from any of those two drivers. So he can just drive the car clean, keep it in that position, keep it on the tarmac, and he'll still walk away with the title. But it's all up to Budsy to try and close the gap to his teammate. And obviously, as I said to the guys, they don't need to play team orders here, but if Kaizen does the team of wonders, he will give that position to Budsy, as we're not really employing team orders. But if he does, then he's going to do everything he can to try and prove a point that Buzzy 76 is here to play, and he's going to be challenging towards the last lap. We're on lap 7 of 11. Kaizen in first, Buzzy second, Derek in third, Rusty and Aussie in fourth and fifth place. They've just managed to lose a little bit of time towards Sirik and Buzzy. And then we have Shadow GT in sixth place, and then we have our champion-elect in Slappers Mate 117 in seventh place, with Rugworth and Gordok 6 and 9, 8th and 9th. And then we have Tormentor, I believe, inside the top 10.
Certainly something worth noting is Kaiser's pace. He's gone faster than the pole time set for this race, so he's certainly in clear air. He's an absolute jet at the moment. He's 4.5 seconds ahead of Sirik and Buzzy. So, worth noting, main series debut tonight, he's going to be someone worth watching. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be...
Sirik down the inside of Buzzy. Heading to 130R, thought better of it.
Nah, so he has obviously played the gentleman's agreement where he didn't want to make a move and do anything silly towards Buzzy 76, so he's done himself a good job there. But yeah, definitely going back onto Kaizen, yeah, he's definitely shown a lot of pace, and as DJ Top put it on top of the coverage in qualifying too, that Kaizen came out of nowhere at St. Croix, and he's definitely put on a hard race on his debut race to get P5 in the first race to be eligible for main series, and that's just where he's been setting the standards, ladies and gentlemen. Kaizen has just been really setting the bar for MSR and for the drivers around him, including Budsy and Shadow and Rugworth, to really tell them that this is where we are, this is where we need to be when it comes to racing. We can definitely be fighting towards these guys, and it's putting a lot of pressure on Budsy 76 and Shadow and Rugworth to find that extra pace, and I think he's definitely extracted that from those drivers.
Also worth noting is that Kaizen has actually got slightly less tyre wear than Budsy, and he's actually managed to save more fuel than both Budsy and Sirik. So certainly looking forward technically in the long run, if he debuts in main series, he's got the ability to save a bit of tyre and save more fuel than those behind him here in TS2 this race.
Absolutely. Definitely want to keep an eye on for the main series, so we'll be keeping an eye on him in main series over in just under an hour's time, as we just click over 7 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Time. We're running a little bit late for the main series, but we won't be, but everything will be running on time, so letting our main series drivers know. And unfortunately for Tormentor's race, just goes from bad to worse, lap after lap. On the last lap he was fighting it out for P9 or P8, and unfortunately he's just had a little bit of mistakes on those last couple of laps, and he's down to 14th on last place. It's a learning curve for Tormentor as well as Renegade 575, but hopefully we'll definitely see these guys feature a lot more in TS2 next year.
Yeah, as much as, they've made the jump up here from TS3, they're actually pretty on the pace here, somewhat kind of instantly. They're doing, 1 minute 50s, 151s with essentially little to no practice in the cars. They've just jumped out of their, Nissan, and, both Nissans, they've gone into a Lexus and Honda. So probably Tormentor is the one that might be on a bit of a backstep here, granted on how much the handling is different compared to the TS3 Nissan compared to the TS2 Honda. Obviously being front engine, rear-wheel drive, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, it's kind of a bit different, but once you get your head around it, I think, these guys are definitely going to have a lot of potential here, and, potentially a top 10, if not top 5, so we'll, might see them in main series at some point, but until they get that top 5, that's definitely something for them to work upon. So yeah, we'll definitely wait and see. But Slappers here looks to be running pretty conservative, which is all he needs to do. He's got 2.6 to Shadow in front, 9 seconds to Rugworth behind. So that's definitely where he kind of really needs to be. Live points at the moment, Slappers will get the championship by 20. So as it sits, yeah, it will be 20 points. But yeah, as you were saying, Kaizen, he's really set the standard for himself here. So he's done pretty solid job.
Absolutely, and we can't wait to see what he can do next year, whether he makes a step into the main series, as he's actually been telling me. He's been approached by a couple of main series teams, and obviously very keenly interested in getting the services of Kaizen. Obviously I myself has actually thrown my name in the hat to think about Kaizen getting him into the main series for MSR, but obviously we'll need to keep an eye out on what our future is with our current main series drivers and our eligible drivers. So We'll wait and see what happens in the silly season. But Kaizen in first, Budsy second, Zurich still holding on to P3, and Rusty's actually pulled away from Aussie Hypnotic there. So I believe that race is done and dusted between those two drivers. Rusty will be getting that P3 over Aussie Hypnotic, but it's never over until it's over. Rusty can make a mistake, Aussie can get himself up into P4, and Slappers is really closing in fast on Shadow GT 007 in 6th place.
Something worth noting is that Sirik's just dropped off the back of Budsy. He's lost probably a second and a half in the last, probably first sector. He's out. The gap is out to nearly 2 seconds. So maybe Sirik's gone, not worth it, or you know, maybe something's gone a bit wrong coming out of the last chicane. So yeah, maybe team orders could be on here for the last lap.
Should be a Budsy round win, I believe. Granted that Sirik's third, or it'll be Kaizen. No, it should be Budsy. Yes.
Yeah,
it will
definitely.
be Budsy. It will be Budsy.
Yeah.
So Budsy will get the round win. So as much as he won't get the championship win, he will more or less get the round win. So if you can't get one, might as well get the other. So you know, hats off there to all the drivers. But as we say that, we got Kaizen coming down here into 130R for the second last time on lap 10 of this 11-lap race. So MSR currently 1-2 and WRT P3, RSR P4 and WTC P5. So you know, solid performance here, and you know, as I was saying, I think
there's definitely potential with some of those teams, as you just mentioned as well, with Slappers Mate 117 and Aussie Hypnotic. WTCC have actually been rumoured to be very firmly interested in putting their names in the hat of being main series eligible for the main series next year in 2023. So they're definitely looking to step their game up. If they're looking to seal the championship in TS2, that'll definitely make Slappers Mate 117 eligible for the main series and promoted to full-time racing. But who will it be under? Will it be under his own team, or will he join a different team?
Of course, we see Slappers here. He's harassing Shadow GT coming through the chicane curbs here.
I do believe that I have heard in the pits that Slappers may be looking to submit his own entry with team of WTCC, so that will be interesting. But we do have the team nominations opening up very shortly, so they will be opening up for the Formula round and then heading into the touring cars. But in the moments of that, we do have iRacing as well. We are starting to branch into some other games, and we are moving into iRacing. So we've got a summer series here with the supercars going around a variation of tracks, and we've got a lot of entries in such a short amount of time. So it's good to see, but we'll have a couple of other people sorting out all that kind of stuff. So if anyone's out there that does have iRacing or looking to branch into iRacing, come join on, let us know, and we'll get you involved. But until then, we've got Kaizen coming around here into the chicane for the final time, about to get his first win in TS2 Championship. A big congratulations to the Triple Eight of Kaizen getting his first win here. And Budsy 76, unfortunately, mate, ever so close, but hats off to you.
But Zurich in third, Rusty fourth, Aussie Hypnotic closes up the P5, and Slappers did make the move on Shadow GT 007 as we cross over to your champion from Trackstars TS2 Touring Cars. It goes towards WTCC for Slappers Mate 117 in the Nissan GTR, taking victory and line honours in Trackstars TS2 for your champion in the series. Well done to Slappers Mate 117, well deserved, and a hard-fought victory and a crushing blow towards Budsy 76's chance of getting the title to MSR. Very unlucky for Budsy 76, but what a drive from him nonetheless to really put the pressure on Slappers Mate 117. He came here with all or nothing on the line. He had to give it his best. He did his best, but unfortunately it wasn't enough.
Yeah, big unfortunate there too, Buzzy, but he's done an absolutely stellar job there. He's been solid all season, and he's put the effort in where it counted, and unfortunately didn't get the win. But a big congratulations there to Slappers Mate being our Trackstars. Our 2022 Trackstars TS2 Touring Car Champion here in I believe it's also his first full-time year, and also Rusty Nuts getting third place in the championship too. So big ups to him as well. And thanks to everyone that's joined in and contributed to everything, and everyone behind the scenes, as I was saying earlier. And obviously thanks to yourself, Spud, and Woodsy for jumping in. It's definitely an interesting one.
Certainly, the MSR driver pool is, or development pool is starting to blossom here, Spud. So you've got a few options for next year, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I've definitely got a few options. So we'll be using our playing cards. We'll have to use our playing cards very wisely for 2023. But I can definitely say that we definitely got a few drivers to keep our eyes on. Kaizen getting his first victory in a short period of time in Trackstars TS2. Debuting back at St. Croix for the TS2 race, and it just been inside that top 5 every single race. And I believe he's actually got himself just inside the top. I believe he might be getting himself inside the top 10 at the end of this race. So a very short time for him to be in the top 10 in TS2. It's an amazing achievement. Budsy76 can hold his head up high for what has been a brilliant season for the man in car 76. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough to topple off the man in car 117 from WTCC. Slapper's mate 117 with a 22 points margin over Budsy 76. So congratulations to the man in car 117 and the team back in WTCC, just getting Shadow on the line as well on that last lap. But full credit goes to that man in Slapper's mate 117. Buck Kaizen taking victory on his first day in his rookie season for MSR. Beautiful drive there. Not much he could do. He couldn't give that position to Budsy 76 because I bet he did the calculations himself as well. So it wasn't going to be enough for that championship victory.
Yeah. I think once he's seen Slapper's mate up that far, I think he just got it there, and he goes, you can't get the championship, I might as well just go out and get the round win. So big ups there to everyone, but yeah, solid year so far.
100%, and they both can hold their heads up high. It's been an awesome year of Trackstars TS2 touring cars. As much as I want to pick on a couple of drivers here, we had John 27 TCT starting off the year, DJ, in Split 2, so we were definitely giving him a lot of grief there on his start, not where he was one of the clear favourites for TS2 title, but he did not put his expectations there to getting himself in Split 2 on that race, so unfortunately for him, but he's earned his way into that main series driving for you guys in It's Racing Esports. And then we also had Captain Muffin, who unfortunately, with the inconsistencies that he's had, hasn't been able to show up. And then Lunacy, just after St. Croix 1500, retired from Trackstars Racing Series. So it's all up to the 3 drivers in Rusty Nuts, Slappers, and Budsy 76. Budsy behind Rusty and Slappers, well behind those 2 drivers, but through drop round, Slappers just got the edge on those 2 drivers, and coming towards the last couple of rounds, but it was all on Budsy to try and close that gap as much as he could. He did when it came to the last round.
Full of the Shane Van Gisbergen.
But unfortunately for Budsy 76 and Rusty Nuts, they've just lost out to a very great driver and a very friendly driver in Slappers Bay 117, the leader of World Touring Car Championship Racing.
Yeah, big congratulations to everyone, as we've said. But until then, we are running a little bit behind time. Big congratulations to everyone that's gone on, and we shall see you next year for the F2 and the F3 Championship. So until then, we shall leave it in the hands of It's Racing, and I believe it was Sirik and Ratting with Forehead. But big ups to Woodsy for joining us, doing a little bit of points calculation in the background, as well as It's Racing, and obviously yourself and Spud for the season. So it's been a top job up here in the comp box, and I'll be happy to have you again next year.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed my time in TS3 and TS2, but it's so sad to see it go. It's the last race of the year. Sad. But on behalf of DJ and myself, as your lead commentators in Trackstars TS3 and TS2, we wish our development drivers Merry Christmas and a safe, happy New Year. going into 2023, and we cannot wait to see what the racing is going to bring you in Trackstars Racing Series. So like, share, and watch the videos on replay as many times as you want, because that is the end of developmental racing, and now we go into the main series. But on behalf of myself, N-Spud, P666, Nick Paltasso, and we have DJ in Ryan Palmer, thank you for joining us in the developmental